What's up, everyone, and welcome to this week's Cybersecurity Weekly, where we review the security events that happened in the last week. As always, I've broken the stories down in the timeline, and there is a list of stories with time markers in the description below. So you can click on any of those time markers to jump around to any story that you want. If you find my work valuable, of course, I ask you to hit the like button and yes, share this information or share this episode with anyone you know who can benefit from this information. And lastly, if you have not already, please also consider subscribing to my channel. The FBI is warning of cybercriminals using search engine advertisement services to impersonate brands and direct users to websites that were used to defraud users. The sites host ransomware and are used to steal login credentials and other financial information from said users. Crooks purchase advertisements through search engine advertisement services. Feds observed threat actors using a domain that is similar to an actual business or service. When online users search for that business or service, advertisements appear at the top of the search results produced by the search engine. The advertisements link to a web page that impersonated a legitimate business. In instances where a user is searching for a program to download, the fraudulent web page has a link to download software that is actually malware. The download page looks legitimate, and the download itself is named after the program the user intended to download. Reads the advisory published by the FBI. The advertisements impersonate websites of financial organizations and cryptocurrency exchange platforms because, of course, they do. The landing websites were designed to prompt users to enter their login credentials and financial information because, of course, they were. BitKeep was the victim of a supply chain attack that resulted in the theft of over $9 million worth of digital currencies from its customers. The attack took place on December 26th. Threat actors were able to distribute tainted versions of the company Android app that were designed to steal users' digital assets. The attackers were able to hijack BitKeep app 7.2.9 APK hosted on the company website. App installed via Google Play, iOS App Store, and Google Chrome are safe. In this large-scale malicious attack, the hacker exploited the hijacked BitKeep app 7.2.9 APK on BitKeep's website with maliciously implanted code. The altered APK led to the leak of user private keys and enabled the hacker to move funds. Reads an open letter from BitKeep CEO published on his website. There is no security issue for the BitKeep official app installed via Google Play, iOS App Store, and Google Chrome. However, if you've downloaded BitKeep 7.2.9 APK on BitKeep's website or updated it to this version via the website or in the app, the CEO would like to urge you to download a new app via the official store, generate a new wallet address, and move your funds because there's a chance that your private key is leaked due to this hijacked APK in question. These are the hijacked APK versions: 7.2.9 com.bitkeep.w4, 7.2.9 com.bitkeep wallet 5, and then the list goes on. After preliminary investigation by the team, it is suspected that the latest BitKeep 7.2.9 APK downloads have been hijacked by hackers and installed with code implanted by the hackers. Researchers from blockchain security company PeckShield estimated that attackers stole over $9 million worth of crypto assets. So then you got a bunch of hashtags reported. So hashtag BitKeep reported that several users' funds were stolen. The official stated that possibly due to the downloading of this APK version, $8 million worth of assets have been stolen so far, including 4,373 BNBs, 5.4 million USDTs, 169,000 DAIs, and 1,233 Ethereum coins. Now, they have traced and identified around $8 million worth of stolen funds. BitKeep tech team is pinpointing the root cause and tracking the stolen funds, some of which have already been frozen with the help of third parties, reads one of the tweets published by BitKeep. Funds stolen are on BNB Chain, Ethereum, Tron, and Polygon. More than 200 addresses on the other 3 chains were used in the heist, and all funds were transferred to 2 main addresses in the end. Users who have downloaded the APK file for version 7.2.9 on the BitKeep website have to remove it and install the latest version. They have to transfer the funds to a newly generated wallet address. The company is working with the Slow Mist team, another security specialist in the industry, to track the stolen funds, and announced it has locked and frozen part of the stolen tokens. In October, the company suffered another security breach impacting its swap service that caused losses of approximately $1 million. Facebook has agreed to pay $725 million to settle a class action lawsuit filed in 2018 over the Cambridge Analytica data leak. According to Reuters, the lawyers for the plaintiffs define the proposed settlement as the largest to ever be achieved in the U.S. data privacy class action. This historical settlement will provide meaningful relief in the class in this complex and novel privacy case, the lead lawyer for the plaintiffs, Derek Lerzer and Leslie Weaver, said in a joint statement. The proposed statement has to be approved by a federal judge in the San Francisco division of the U.S. District Court. Over the last 3 years, they revamped their approach to privacy and implemented a comprehensive privacy program, reads a statement issued by Meta. In the Cambridge Analytica privacy scandal, the company allowed access to the personal data of around 87 million Facebook users without their explicit consent. The way Facebook managed user data violated a 2011 privacy settlement with the FTC. At the time, Facebook was accused of deceiving people about how the social network giant handled their data. An FTC settlement obliged the company to review its privacy policies or privacy practices. In 2019, Facebook agreed to pay a $5 billion fine to settle an investigation conducted by the United States Federal Trade Commission over the Cambridge Analytica scandal. In March 2018, it was publicly revealed that a team of academics had collected a huge amount of user data and shared the information with Cambridge Analytica, which was a commercial data analytics company that allegedly used it to target U.S. voters in the 2016 presidential election. The researchers used an app developed by the University of Cambridge psychology lecturer Dr. Alexander Kogan to collect user data. The app, named This Is Your Digital Life, is available to users has been available to users since 2014. It was provided by Global Science Research and asked users to take an online survey for $1 or $2. The app requested access to the user profile information, and over 270,000 users gave the app permission to use their personal details for academic research. The app is a powerful tool to profile users by harvesting information on their network of contacts. Its code allowed it to collect data from over 87 million users. Back to the 725 settlement, the Reuters reported that the plaintiffs plan to ask the judge to award them up to 25% of the settlement as attorney's fees, roughly $181 million. Google decided to pay $29.5 million to settle 2 different lawsuits brought by the states of Indiana and Washington, D.C. over its deceptive location tracking practices. The IT giant will pay $9.5 million to D.C. and $20 million to Indiana after the states filed 2 lawsuits against the company, charging it with having tracked users' locations without their express consent. Given the vast level of tracking and surveillance that technology companies can embed into their widely used products, it's only fair that consumers be informed of how important user data, including information about their every move, is gathered, tracked, and utilized by these companies. Significantly, this resolution also provides users with the ability to and choice to opt out of being tracked, as well as restrict the manner in which user information may be shared with third parties. Said Attorney General Carl A. Recht while announcing that Google will pay the $9.5 million, "I am proud of how the exceptional lawyers and professionals in my office have creatively applied the district's strong consumer protection laws to set the standard nationally and provide users for greater control of their personal information. We sued because Google made it nearly impossible for users to stop their location from being tracked. Now, thanks to the settlement, Google must also make clear to consumers how their location data is collected, stored, and used." Racine added, Google is currently facing 2 similar lawsuits in Texas and Washington. But what this doesn't say is that Google must stop tracking. All it says is they have to tell you how they're using the data. Now, in November, Google agreed to pay $391.5 million to settle with 40 U.S. states for misleading users about the collection of personal location data. Settlement is the largest Attorney General-led consumer privacy settlement ever, states the announcement published by DOJ. Now, why did the states get the money, or do individual users get the money? Probably not. Google misled its users into thinking they had turned off location tracking in their account settings, when in fact, Google continued to collect their location information. So again, consumers are being impacted here, but the states are getting the money. See, that's the way it seems, at least. In addition to the multi-million-dollar settlement as part of the negotiations with the AGs, Google has agreed to significantly improve its location tracking disclosures and user controls starting in 2023, which is now, reads the DOJ press release. Oregon Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum, who led the settlement along with Nebraska AG Doug Peterson, pointed out that for years Google has prioritized profit over their users' privacy. as if that's some new revelation. The authorities started the investigation into Google collection practice following a 2018 Associated Press article that revealed Google records your movements even when you explicitly tell it not to. CrowdStrike researchers detailed multiple evasion techniques implemented by an advanced malware downloader called GuLoader, aka Cloud Eye. GuLoader uses a polymorphic shellcode loader to avoid traditional security solutions. The experts mapped all embedded DJB2 hash values for every API used by the malicious code. The malware uses an anti-analysis technique to avoid execution in virtualized environments. In dissecting GuLoader shellcode, CrowdStrike revealed a new anti-analysis technique meant to detect if the malware is running in a hostile environment by scanning the entire process memory for any virtual machine-related strings. Reads the analysis published by CrowdStrike. New redundant code injection mechanism means to ensure code execution by using inline assembly to bypass user mode hooks from security solutions. GuLoader first appeared on the threat landscape in 2019. It was used by threat actors to download multiple remote access Trojans such as Agent Tesla, Formbook, Nanocore, Netwire, and the Parallax Rat. Early versions of GuLoader were distributed via spam messages using attachments containing the malicious executable. Recent variants were delivered via a Visual Basic Script (VBS) file. GuLoader also started employing advanced anti-analysis techniques to evade detection, such as anti-debug, anti-sandbox, anti-VM, and anti-detection to make analysis difficult. Reads the analysis. A recent GuLoader variant analyzed by the experts prohibits a multi-stage deployment. The malware implements anti-debugging and anti-disassembling checks to detect the presence of breakpoints used for the analysis of code. The researchers also noticed the use of a redundant code injection mechanism to avoid anti-DLL.DLL hooks used by antivirus and EDR solutions to detect malicious activities. It then maps that section via NT-map views of section on the suspended process, continues the analysis. If this injection technique fails, it uses the following redundancy method. A NT-allocate virtual memory by invoking the inline assembly instructions without calling NT-DLL.DLL to bypass AV-EDR user mode hooks. That function using the assembly stub. Now it uses NT-write process memory to copy the same shellcode onto that virtually allocated address. It uses NT-write process memory to copy the same shellcode onto the virtually allocated address. Experts pointed out that GuLoader remains a dangerous threat that constantly evolves. They also shared indicators of compromise for the latest variant of the downloader. BTCcoin.com is a website that provides services for managing and transferring Bitcoin. It offers a digital wallet for storing Bitcoin, a trading interface for exchanging Bitcoin with other cryptocurrency and fiat currencies, and a mining platform for participating in the extraction of new Bitcoin coins. BTC.com is one of the largest platforms for transferring Bitcoin globally and is used by millions of users worldwide. That sounds like a great sales pitch. BTC.com announced it was the victim of a cyber attack that resulted in the theft of approximately $3 million worth of crypto assets. That is not a great sales pitch. According to the company, the attack took place on December 3rd, 2022, and stolen assets belonged to both customers and the company. $700,000 worth of crypto owned by the company, clients, and $2.3 million in digital assets owned by the company were stolen in the cyber attack. Bitmining Limited, a leading technology-driven cryptocurrency mining company, today announced that the company's subsidiary BTC.com experienced a cyber attack on December 3rd, 2022. In the cyber attack, certain digital assets were stolen, including this approximately $700,000 asset value owned by BTC.com clients and approximately $2.3 million in assets of value owned by the company. Reads the press release published by BIT Mining Limited. The company reported this incident to Chinese law enforcement, and some of BTC.com digital assets have already been secured. The authorities launched an investigation into the security breach on December 23rd, 2022. The company reported this incident to law enforcement authorities in Shenzhen, China. Due to the coordination locally and with the company internally, some of the BTC.com digital assets have already been secured, as we mentioned. Continues the press release. On December 23rd, 2022, the authorities had launched an investigation, began collecting evidence, and had requested assistance from and coordinated with relevant agencies. The company will devote considerable efforts to recover the stolen digital assets. The company announced the adoption of technology to detect and neutralize similar attacks in the future. The question I have is, why didn't you adopt this technology sooner? It also added that BTC.com operations are not affected and also client fund services are unaffected. BTC.com is currently operating as business as usual, and apart from its digital asset services, its client fund services are unaffected. The Lake Charles Memorial Health System disclosed a data breach that affected almost 270,000 patients at its medical centers. The Lake Charles Memorial Health System is the largest not-for-profit community healthcare system in southwest Louisiana. LCMHS reported the incident to the security of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The security breach took place on October 21st, 2022, when the internal security team detected unusual activity on its computer network. The organization launched an investigation into the incident with the help of forensic experts and discovered that threat actors had stolen files containing sensitive data, including probably names and all that other kind of stuff. The investigation determined that the unauthorized access to our computer network occurred between October 20th and October 21st, 2022, during which time the unauthorized third-party accessed or obtained certain files from our systems. Read the data breach notification published by LCMHS. According to the Portal for Breaches of Healthcare Organizations, the incident impacted 269,752 individuals. Starting on December 23rd, 2022, the company is sending a data breach notification via mail to the impacted patients. The company is offering individuals whose social security number, which apparently was leaked, may have been compromised with credit monitoring and identity theft protection services. Despite the notice sent to the patients, it doesn't provide technical details about the attack. It seems that the company suffered a ransomware attack. The Hive ransomware group added the LCMHS to the list of its victims on its Tor data leak site on November 15th, 2022, according to the attack, claiming that the attack took place on October 25th, 2022, not on October 20th or 21st. The gang also published the files allegedly stolen from LCMHS systems, including contracts, bills of materials, medical information, medical records, scans, and more. The Lockbit ransomware gang formally apologized for the attack on the hospital for sick children, SickKids, and has released a free decryptor for the hospital. The group is known to have a role for its affiliated, whatever that says, that prohibits attacking healthcare organizations. So it has limits, or it basically says we're not going to attack healthcare organizations. Its policy forbids to encrypt systems of organizations where damage could lead to death of individuals. The gang explained that one of its partners has attacked SickKids, violating its rules. For this reason, it blocked the affiliate. We formally apologize for the attack on sickkids.ca and give back the decryptor for free. Give back the decryptor, or give the decryptor for free. The partner who attacked this hospital violated our rules, is blocked, and is no longer in our affiliate program. You're out, reads the message published by Lockbit on its Tor leak site. Bleeping Computer confirmed that the decryptor released by the group claims to be a Linux VMware ESXi decryptor. The attack against the Toronto Hospital for Sick Children took place on December 18, 2022. The hospital is the Canadian's largest pediatric health center. It is located on University Avenue in Toronto. As if I need the address. I'm not going to visit there. We reviewed these files and determined that some patient information was contained within them, which may have included patient names, addresses, dates of birth, medical record, or patient identification numbers, health insurance information, payment information, and or limited clinical information regarding care received at LCMH. In some limited instances, patient social security numbers were also included. LCMH electronic medical record was not accessible to the unauthorized party. The attack impacted multiple network systems at the hospital, but according to the healthcare organization, it did not impact patient care. The Hospital for Sick Children is currently responding to a cybersecurity incident affecting several network systems and has called a code gray system failure. The code went into effect on 9:30 p.m. on Sunday, December 18th, and is ongoing. Reads the incident notice published by the hospital. The safety and well-being of our patients and their families is our top priority. All patient care is continuing, and there is currently no evidence that personal information or personal health information has been impacted. The Hospital for Sick Children has successfully restored many systems that were impacted by the cybersecurity incident on December 18th. Reads an update published by SickKids. Yeah, because you have the decryptor. As of December 29th, almost 50% of priority systems are now restored and back online, which shows you how long it takes you to decrypt ransomware, even if you have the decryptor key, right? Including many of the systems that would have contributed to diagnostic and or treatment delays. Patients and families should still be prepared for potential delays as work continues to bring all systems back online. So, as of December 29th, not all systems were online, only 50% of it was online. This happened on December 18th. That's how long it can take to decrypt files using a decryptor. They are not made to be fast. They're made to just work. The encryption part of ransomware is made to be fast. No, many SickKids systems restored following... Yeah, whatever, that's the tweet. Affiliates of the Lockbit gang have already hit healthcare organizations in the past. In early December, the Hospital Center of Versailles was hit by a cyber attack that was attributed to the group. Hospital Center of Versailles, which includes André Mignot Hospital, Richard Hospital, and a D'Espagnier retirement home, that's my best French, canceled operations and transferred some patients due to the cyber attack. The Port of Lisbon is the third largest port in Portugal and one of the main European ports due to its strategic location. The website of the port was hit by a cyber attack on December 25th. In response to the security breach, the administrators shut it down. At the time of this writing, the website of the port was still down. The administration of the Port of Lisbon said that the cyber attack did not compromise operational activity at the critical infrastructure. The administration notified the National Cybersecurity Center, and the Judiciary Police were notified of the incident. All security protocols and response measures planned for this type of occurrence were quickly activated, port officials told the newspaper Publico. The administration of the Port of Lisbon is working permanently, and closely with all the competent authorities in order to guarantee the security of the systems and respective data. This week, the Lockbit ransomware group claimed responsibility, or last week, for the attack, and the gang added the organization to the list of victims published on its website. So, Port of Lisbon is not healthcare like the SickKids. After successful work with the Portuguese Port Authority, in our hands are all financial reports, audits, budgets, contracts, information about cargoes, ship logs with all the information on the crews, personal data of customers, all port documentation, all mail correspondence, all contracts, and much more. The entire data, instead of date, will be published in case of failure to contact us, reads the announcement published by the gang on its Tor leak site. Cyber attacks against ports are an alarming trend. Secretary of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, recently told Congress that cyber attacks are the main threat to U.S. ports. We are increasing the level of technology by which our ports operate, and that is why not only Customs and Border Protection have a focus on cybersecurity, but so does the United States Coast Guard, Mayorkas said. I would identify, with respect to our ports, cybersecurity as a significant threat stream, and we are, of course, very focused on defending against it and strengthening our cybersecurity. Guardio Labs researchers uncovered a malvertising campaign tracked as MasquerAds and attributed to a threat actor known as Vermux that is abusing Google Ads to target users that are searching for popular software. Sounds like one of the articles we read earlier on. The campaign aims at delivering tainted versions of popular software that deploy malicious payloads on the user machine, including information stealing, malware such as Raccoon Stealer and Vidar. The threat actors behind this campaign used domains with typo-squatted names that appeared on top of Google search results, very similar to the Bitcoin, to the financial and cryptocurrency stealer malvertising campaigns. The attacker used a set of benign sites, which were designed to trick visitors into clicking on them and then redirect them to rogue sites. The trick is simple, creating a benign site to be promoted with the wanted keyword and keeping it valid and safe in the eyes of the policy enforcer, reads the analysis published by the Guardio Labs. Yet the moment those disguised sites are being visited by targeted visitors, those who actually click on the promoted search result, the server immediately redirects them to the rogue site and from there to the malicious payload, usually also hiding inside reputable file sharing and code hosting services like GitHub, Dropbox, Discord, CDN, etc. Some of the software that was impersonated by the threat actors are Grammarly, Malwarebytes, Afterburner, Zoom, Slack, Brave, and Tor. Threat actors put a significant effort into the malicious payload employed in the campaign. For example, they employed stealers that are able to avoid defense solutions. Even for VirusTotal, it took several days since the submission to get more than a few heuristic detections, continues the report. Vermux deployed hundreds of domains, and its servers were located mostly in Russia, while the rogue ads mainly targeted users in US and Canada. This MasquerAd concept is simple, yet does exactly what those actors need. Abuse the trust we sometimes blindly give to Google and their promoted search results. Adding to the above, the abuse of reputable file-sharing services as well as well-known software brands make them evade even the most advanced EDRs on the market. It's inevitable to apply a more behavioral and unbiased protection level, even for the plainest and most common action, like Googling something, concludes the report, which also includes indicators of compromise. Don't get fooled by misspelled domain names, and always double-check where you download your files from. NETGEAR fixed a bug affecting multiple Wi-Fi routers models, including Wireless AC Nighthawk, Wireless X Nighthawk, Wi-Fi 6, and Wireless AC router models. The vendor only said that the flaw is a pre-authentication buffer overflow vulnerability and urged customers to address the firmware of their devices as soon as possible. An attacker can exploit this vulnerability without requiring permission or user interaction. Threat actors often exploit this kind of issue to trigger a DOS condition or to execute arbitrary code on vulnerable devices. NETGEAR has released fixes for a pre-authentication buffer overflow security vulnerability, reads the advisory published by the company. NETGEAR strongly recommends that you download the latest firmware as soon as possible. So they had a list of fixes released by the company for the specific product model. Now, the step-by-step instructions to download the latest firmware for impacted router models is also listed in the article. The pre-authentication buffer overflow vulnerability remains. If you do not complete all recommended steps, NETGEAR is not responsible for any consequences that could have been avoided by following the recommendations in this notification, continues the advisory. So they're covering their butt there. The vendor did not reveal if the flaw has been actively exploited in attacks in the wild. Dr. Web researchers discovered a Linux malware tracked as linux.backdoor.wordpress-exploit.1 that compromises WordPress websites by exploiting 30 vulnerabilities in multiple outdated plugins and themes. The malware injects into targeted web pages malicious JavaScripts. Then, when users click on the compromised page, they are redirected to other sites under the control of the attackers. The malware targets both 32-bit and 64-bit versions of Linux. It supports backdoor capabilities and allows it to attack a specified web page or website, switch to standby mode, shut itself down, and pause logging its actions. Before attacking a website, the malware contacts the command and control server and receives the address of the site to infect. Then, the linux.backdoor.wordpress-exploit.1 attempts to exploit vulnerabilities in the following plugins and themes, or in a list of plugins and themes, if they're installed on target websites. If one or more of the vulnerabilities are successfully exploited, the targeted page is ejected with malicious JavaScript that is downloaded from a remote server. With that, the injection is done in such a way that when the infected page is loaded, this JavaScript will be initiated first regardless of the original contents of the page, reads the advisory published by Dr. Webb. At this point, whenever users click anywhere on the infected page, they will be transferred to the website the attackers need users to go to. Visitors of compromised pages are redirected to malicious sites used to distribute malware and serve phishing pages. The researchers also spotted a more recent version of the malware that exploits vulnerabilities in another list of WordPress plugins. The researchers noticed that both Trojan variants contain unimplemented functionality for hacking the administrator accounts of WordPress websites through a brute force attack using special dictionaries. The researchers recommend admins of WordPress sites to keep all the components of the CMS up to date and also urge to use strong and unique logins and passwords for their accounts. And honestly, you should only be using plugins that are actively developed. Since the beginning of the invasion of the Ukraine, Poland has been a constant target of cyber attacks conducted by pro-Russian hackers, Poland Security Agency warns. The attacks aimed at almost any entity in Poland, including government services, private organizations, media outlets, both public administration domains and private companies. The media and ordinary users become the target of hacker attacks. Entities from strategic sectors such as energy or armaments are particularly at risk. Some of these hostile campaigns can be linked directly to the activities of pro-Russian hacking groups, reads the alert published by the Polish government. According to the Polish intelligence, the attacks against the country are part of a response of the Kremlin to Poland's support provided to the Ukraine. The security agency warns of an attempt to destabilize the situation in its country. Poland is in a strategic position and is considered a key Ukraine ally. It continues to provide support to Ukraine refugees aligned with NATO's strategy. In July, pro-Russia KillNet hacker crew hit multiple government resources in Poland, including the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Senate, Border Control, and the police. In April, the same group claimed the responsibility for DDoS attacks on the sites of institutions in its states, such as the USA, Estonia, Poland, Czech Republic, and also on NATO sites. In October, Microsoft reported that a new strain of ransomware, tracked as Prestige ransomware, is being used in attacks aimed at transportation and logistics organizations in Ukraine and Poland. Microsoft pointed out that this campaign was not connected to any of the 94 currently active ransomware activity groups that it is tracking. The campaign shares victimology with recent operations conducted by Russian-linked threat actors. The IT giant attributed it to the Russian-linked Iridium Act. The Poland Security Agency also reports the case of the November attack on the Polish parliament that was attributed to the pro-Russian group No Name 057. The attack was a response to the adoption of the Sejm of the Republic of Poland of a resolution designating Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism. Such incidents in cyberspace are retaliatory actions typical of Russia, which are a response to steps taken by other countries that are unfavorable and inconvenient for the Russian Federation. Concludes the alert, which also states that the Prime Minister has also introduced the third security alert, Charlie CRP, related to the cybersecurity and responds to growing and responds to growing threats in cyberspace. Hacker groups linked to the Kremlin use ransomware, DDoS, and phishing attacks, and the goal of hostile actions coincides with the goals of a hybrid attack: destabilization, intimidation, and sowing chaos. The maintainers of the PyTorch package warn of a supply chain attack. Users who have installed PyTorch nightly on Linux via pip in between December 25th, 2022 and December 30th, 2022 need to uninstall it and use the latest binaries. If you install PyTorch nightly on Linux via pip between December 25th, 2022 and December 30th, 2022, please uninstall it and torch Triton immediately, or reinstall it, and use the latest nightly binaries between December 30th or newer than December 30th, 2022. Here's the advisory published by the maintainers of the framework. PyTorch nightly Linux packages installed via pip during that time installed a dependency, Torch Triton, which was compromised on the Python package index, or PyPy, code repository and ran a malicious binary. PyTorch is a machine learning framework based on the Torch library used for applications such as computer vision and natural language processing. Originally developed by Meta AI and now part of the Linux Foundation umbrella, PyTorch is analogous to Keras and TensorFlow, is an open-source Python-based machine learning framework that was originally developed by Meta Platform. The attack was discovered on December 30th at 4:40 p.m. GMT. Threat actors uploaded a malicious version of a legitimate dependency named Torch Triton to the Python package index code repository. According to the advisory, the supply chain attack directly affects dependencies for packages that are hosted on public package indices. In order to determine if a Python environment is affected or not, the maintainers recommends to run the following command to search for the malicious binary in the Torch Triton package. I'm sure you've seen that before, so I'm not going to try to go through it. The advisory points out that the malicious binary is executed when the Triton package is imported, which requires explicit code to do. Bleeping Computer first reported that the individuals behind the domain H4CK for hack.cfd claim to be researchers analyzing the Python environments vulnerable to a dependency confusion attack. The Torch Triton has been removed as a dependency and replaced with PyTorch-Triton and a dummy package registered on PyPy. This is not the real Torch Triton package, but uploaded here to discover dependency confusion and vulnerability, stated the PyPy page for Torch Triton, now removed. You can get the real Torch Triton from a specific link. Researchers from the Trend Micro company have uncovered a Raspberry Robin worm campaign targeting telecommunications and government office systems across Latin America, Australia, and Europe. The campaign has been active since at least September 2022. Most of the infections were or have been observed in Argentina with 34.8%, followed by Australia with 23.2%. We found samples of the Raspberry Robin malware spreading in telecommunications and government office systems beginning September, reads the report published by Trend Micro. The main payload itself is packed with more than 10 layers of obfuscation and is capable of delivering a fake payload once it detects sandboxing and security analytics tools. Raspberry Robin is a Windows worm. Discovered by cybersecurity researchers from Red Canary, the malware propagates through removable USB devices. The malicious code uses Windows Installer to reach out to QNAP-associated domains and download a malicious DLL. The malware uses Tor exit nodes as a backup command and control infrastructure. The malware was first spotted in September 2021. The experts observed it targeting organizations in the technology and manufacturing industries. Initial access is typically through infected removable drives, often USB devices. The malware uses command.exe to read and execute a file stored on the infected external drive. It leverages msiexe.exe for external network communications to a rogue domain used as command and control to download and install a DLL library file. Then msieexecution.exe launches a legitimate Windows utility, fodhelper.exe, which in turn runs rundll32.exe to execute a malicious command. X has pointed out that processes launched by fodhelper.exe run with elevated administrative privileges without requiring a user account control prompt. The worm was attributed by IBM but to the cybercrime gang Evil Corp. However, it's used by multiple threat actors to deliver malicious payloads, such as the Clop ransomware. The analysis conducted by Trend Micro revealed that the main malware routine contains both the real and fake payloads. The fake payload is loaded once the malicious code detects sandboxing tools. Meanwhile, the real payload remains obfuscated under packing layers and subsequently connects to the Tor network. Once installed, the malware contacts the hard-coded .onion address using an embedded custom Tor client designed to communicate with a real payload using shared memory, and it waits for the commands. Upon starting the Tor client process, the real payload randomly uses a name of the legitimate Windows process like dllhost.exe, redserver32.exe, and rundll32.exe. The real routine of the malware runs in a specialized Windows session known as Session 0. I have a small feeling that I did this one last week, this article, but let's do it again. Trend Micro, because it's pretty important. Trend Micro experts discovered multiple similarities with privilege escalation and an anti-debugging technique implemented by Lockbit ransomware, leading to these hypotheses. NCC Group Foxit Research, or Fox IT Research, team warns of thousands of Citrix ADC and gateway endpoints remaining vulnerable to two critical vulnerabilities tracked to CVE-2022-27510 and CVE-2022-27518, CVSS scores of 9.8 that the company addressed in recent months. CVE-2022-27510 flaw is an authentication bypass using an alternate path or channel. An attacker can trigger it to gain unauthorized access to gateway user capabilities. The vendor pointed out that only appliances that are operating as gateway appliances using the SSL VPN capability or deployed as an ICA proxy with authentication enabled are impacted. CVE-2022-27518 flaw is a remote code execution bug that can be exploited by an unauthenticated remote attacker to gain arbitrary code execution on the vulnerable appliance. On December 13th, the vendor urged administrators to apply security updates for the zero-day vulnerability in ADC and gateway that was actively exploited by China-linked threat actors to gain access to target networks. Now, researchers in NCC Group Fox IT team reported despite most internet-facing endpoints have been updated to versions that fix both issues, thousands of installs remain vulnerable. The researchers initially scanned the internet for Citrix servers and found around 28,000 installs as of November 11, 2022. Fortunately, the version number of these installs was not included in the HTTP response from the servers. The experts noticed that there is an MD5 hash-like value in the HTTP body when requesting the URL. Then they downloaded and deployed all Citrix ADC versions from cloud marketplaces, including Google Cloud Marketplace, AWS, Azure, and Citrix, and analyzed the matches between hashes and versions. The research team noticed that some hashes could not be matched with versions obtained with the described process. Then they analyzed the build date to deduce their versions. There was a graph that shows the top 20 active versions, which is the screenshot on the right, on the internet as of December 28, 2022, and reports of those versions are vulnerable to both issues. Good news is that the majority of the servers, more than 5,000, are running the 13.088.14 version that's not impacted by the two flaws. Over 3,500 ADC and gateway servers are running the 12.1-65.21 version, which is vulnerable to CVE-2022-27518 attacks, while more than 500 servers are running the 12.1-63.22 version, which is vulnerable to both critical flaws. In China, only 20% of internet-facing servers have been updated against both issues. So, the pay-per-install malware downloader service PrivateLoader is being used to distribute the information-stealing malware dubbed RisePro. Flashpoint warns. Threat actors can pay the pay-per-install PrivateLoader service to download malicious payloads onto infected systems. Pay-per-install services are not a novel business model for threat actors operating botnets. Flashpoint analysts have observed advertisements of these types of services in the past on forums and within Telegram, which is commonly used by these stealers for customer support. The RisePro stealer first appeared in the threat landscape on December 2022, when it was advertised on the Russian Market Underground Marketplace. At the time of writing, Russian Market announced the ability of over 2,000 logs allegedly sourced from the RisePro info stealer. Experts pointed out that the presence of the malware on the Russian marketplace or market indicates that its popularity within the threat actor community is increasing. Samples that Flashpoint analysts identified indicate that RisePro may have been dropped on or downloaded by the pay-per-install malware downloader service PrivateLoader in the recent year. Recent analysis published by Flashpoint. The appearance of the stealer as a payload for a pay-per-install service may indicate a threat actor confidence in the stealer abilities. RisePro is written in C++ and shares similarities with the info-stealing malware Vidar stealer, which was originally a fork of a stealer called RK that was analyzed in 2018. Flashpoint report highlights that RisePro uses dropped dynamic link library dependency, also used by the stealer Vidar, Researchers assessed that RisePro is very likely a clone of an stealer and shared indicators of compromise for the threat. Researchers from cybersecurity firm Sequoia also published an analysis of RisePro and discovered partial source code overlaps with PrivateLoader. Similarities include the string obfuscation technique, HTTP method, and port setup, and the HTTP message obfuscation method. Sequoia.io analyst understanding of the threat is that PrivateLoader is still active and comes with a set of new capabilities. Similarities between the stealer and PrivateLoader could not be ignored and provides additional insight into the threat actor expansion, concludes Sequoia. Sequoia.io analyst's first hypothesis is that RisePro stealer might be a simple PrivateLoader version with pre-configured build to download its own stealer. There's a side note, this version does not use a deep drop resolver technique. The second hypothesis is that PrivateLoader simply evolved and a different unidentified PPI vendor provides RisePro installation via PrivateLoader. Mario Greco, chief executive insurer giant Zurich, has warned that cyber attacks will become soon uninsurable. The attacks are becoming even more frequent and the damage they are causing continues to grow. What will become uninsurable is going to be cyber, Mario Greco told the Financial Times. What if someone takes control of vital parts of our infrastructure? The consequences of that? First of all, there must be a perception that this is not just data, this is about civilization. These people can severely disrupt our lives, he added. Cyber attacks targeting critical infrastructures such as hospitals, pipelines, and electric grids could block their operations and cause extensive damage. In May 2021, Ireland Health Insurance Executive Service shut down its IT systems after they were hit with a significant ransomware attack. With the increase in the number of cyber attacks, a growing number of organizations opted to transfer the cyber risk to underwriting cyber insurance. The increase in cyber losses in recent years pushed up prices. Some insurance companies also changed their policies to limit the refunds in case of cyber incidents. In 2019, Zurich initially refused to refund $100 million to food company Mondelez because it considered the NotPetya attack as an attack of war that is not covered by its policy. On August 16, 2022, Lloyd of London announced that beginning March 31, 2023, it would require all cyber insurance policy to specifically exclude coverage for losses related to cyber attacks attributed to nation-state actors. Greco explained that the private sector is not able to cover all the losses caused by cyber attacks and urged to set up private-public schemes to handle systemic cyber risks that cannot be quantified, similar to those that exist in some jurisdictions for earthquakes or terror attacks. And that is the news. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe if you haven't already, and smash the bell if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Don't forget to ride. Farewell.